Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knights of the Round Table. I'm Luca, and this is TJ.
Well,
And for
there.
tonight's movie, we are reviewing Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth follows Ophelia, a 10-year-old girl from Spain who discovers a mythical creature in the forest by her stepfather's campsite, and learns that she is the princess of the underworld and is given a quest by the faun to fulfill his duties.
All right. So you said you have something about the name because you say you want to talk about the name because in the movie, for all
Yeah.
of you who haven't watched it, there is no character named Pan. Although the faun can count as a Pan, that's also another word for the mythical creature he is. That's not what he's called. So Luca, what's the origin of the name?
So, the English name of the movie is called Pan's Labyrinth because Pan would be a more familiar word to the American viewers, and it's close to faun.
I think it's the same. It is the same name for the same creature as mentioned.
Yeah, but in America, it's called
We
Pan.
call it a pan more. We have a fawn in the case of a baby deer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they could be in Spanish, but I'm not too familiar with the translation. I could ask somebody. But what did you think of this film? I'm the one who recommended it. And also, did you see it before?
I've seen it in my 10th grade film class.
So a while back. Okay.
Yeah, and I really liked it back then, and I still do. I find it to be very adventurous and dramatic.
Yeah, very. All right. Actually, anyways. I really enjoy this film. It's one of my favorite films. It's not and I think it's a great film, if not a perfect film, but still a great film. And I am now repeating myself. So you called it very adventurous and dramatic.
Yes.
So what do you mean? All right. So what have we? So what's the bits of the let's start with the adventurous side. What bits of the adventure did you like about?
The girl exploring the maze and meeting up with the faun.
All right. Yeah. There's a lot of yeah. Really. Anyway, so that sounds really good. So you go.
Yeah, I like the scenes where she just explores the forest, like the scene with the toad.
Yeah.
And the movie does well in establishing the underworld. It has a nice blue filter on it and a mythological look. Also,
Yeah.
I think they did great on the book animation. It's very Rorschach like, and we know what's coming after we see all these graphic images appear in the book.
All right.
Hmm.
All right. And I quite let's see. I also quite enjoyed it. Which, you're talking about you're talking about when it appears in the first in the underworld and it appears in the first film. Although it was a weird decision to make it kind of this bluish color because throughout the film, the blues and blue greens sort of significant the normal world, like that's the color of the encampment and such. And more reds, oranges, and yellows are more prevalent in the more fantastical scenes, such as the pale man scene, which I'm sure we'll get into, and also the toad scene as mentioned.
True, but they intend to make the beginning look very dark. They want the viewers to know that there is something bad coming.
Yeah. And also skeletons don't help much. Skeletons near the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
These are very. So I've watched this film a number of times, and it is and just a weird little thing about the toad scene. It is very. Looking at the toad scene, it is kind of creepy to think of it as sort of Ophelia's view of her unborn brother living in this very fallopian-looking tree, a lot of fallopian energy throughout the film, including the titular faun, and also this creature killing it. That is creepy on rewatch. It's just very creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's talk about more human elements. How'd you? So this is a Spanish film, but did you find the acting to be? So how'd you find Ophelia as well as?
I find her to be a kind, curious, and adventurous young girl.
Yeah, I found,
She has a well-developed character, and I like her bond with the faun creature.
yeah, it's weird. Like Ophelia is she's extremely well played. I wrote down her name, so here it is. Lana Lana Bacuro, I believe is how her name is spelled, although I'm probably misspelling it.
She the
And she
actor?
does like her actress,
Oh yeah,
and she did a really good job for being in a kids film. Like it is, like this is a tough, like this is a tough role. Like she's rolling in like she's crawling through the mud. She has a lot of dramatic weight, and she pulls it off.
yeah.
Yeah,
So what do you think of the World War II feel of the movie?
yeah, like the whole movie that takes place in the Spanish Civil War, which was sort of like Spain was going through its own thing as the whole world was going into the World War II. But I thought it was handled very well.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I like them. Yeah, it is. I like how the film uses fascism to tackle its themes. I like how it is. I like the atmosphere that this time creates, and it's just, yeah, and it feels very earned.
Yeah, I don't really
Like
know.
the,
Oh, sorry, go on.
go on.
I don't really know what Spain was like during World War II, but I just find the feel of it in the movie very enjoyable. Like
Yeah,
there's explosions, gunfights, and the captain and his evil rule.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but it's also just this tension throughout. Like it is,
It works great in the movie.
yeah, which brings us to Captain Vidal, who is another highlight in the performance department. I found he's I found like how'd you find him? Like how'd you find his performance? Did you think he was an effective villain? Do you
I
think he's realistic?
I think he's psychotic.
Yes.
Yeah, and which works well in the movie. Like he's very he's demanding of his servants. He treats his wife like more of a servant, and
Especially like the first scene where we first see them meet, like they meet beforehand,
and he
where he just doesn't look at her, well, barely looks at her.
and he acts torturous towards the farmers.
Oh no!
Yeah, I thought he was like this character could so easily become cartoonish and just cartoon and just very unrealistic. But again, and Guillermo del Toro, director, like he excels at characters like this because in this sort of because he does feel very realistic. This would be he feels like a person who would be in this sort of environment in this situation. And although we don't go too far in depth into his backstory, we can kind of see how he would be like this, like how the pressure of his father's legacy and his and this and all of these things happen and would just his father's legacy mainly would and also his fear of time and also his fear of death would shape him into this monstrous man.
So, what do you think of the transitions?
Yeah, there's a lot of fancy scene transitions. Do those have a name, like a specific name? Like they're not. Yes, they're fades. I don't.
It's just a transition. They don't really have a name.
I'm sure they. I'm sure they have a name, but I thought there's a lot of them. I thought there were. There's a lot of I thought about to start over. I thought they were well handled. Like they never like although they were very elaborate and very and somewhat attention drawing, they never really felt too distracting. They felt appropriately used.
Yes.
Yourself, how do you find them?
I find them to be effective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially this. Let's talk about creature effects. How did you so so how did you find the special effects in this film?
I find them to be wonderful. I think they're fitting to the movie. I find the faun to be well animated,
Mm-hmm.
and I also like the fairies.
Yeah.
I like seeing one of the fairies morph into this walking stick bug, and as I said earlier, I enjoy the animation of the book.
Yeah, there's a yeah, there's apparently the stick insects, the two stick insects which that 3D model was modeled from. They died before this movie was complete, and they're apparently credited in the film. Yeah,
Jeez.
so yeah, so I quite so as I some of these see I think these special effects are a great aspect of the film. The
Mm-hmm.
some if the CGI hasn't aged too well, although it's not relied too heavy, and it gets the job done. Like I can tell that's a stick insect, and it is yeah. But then there's the practical effects, which just look very well, which are just very well done. Like there's hang on, I wrote his name. Doug Jones plays both the Faun and the Pale Man, and he does a good job.
Yeah.
Apparently he studied under mime, and that shows in his performances. He usually appears in Guillermo del Toro films as sort of he is the man behind the monster in many of his features. Like he wears all the makeup. Another example would be the Gillman in The Shape of Water, another excellent film, which if you like this film would be highly recommended. So and as for the makeup, it is outstanding. I love the look of the faun. I love how he de-ages throughout the film, and how he's yeah, and the character himself is very mysterious and very both inviting as mentioned. Like he seems to be like this sort of playful, inviting creature, but also very menacing. Like and also the pale man. I love his eyes are on his hands.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I think it's just such a he's such a creative creature, and I think he is freaky, even if he's not the most scariest monster. But I think he's a very effective monster.
One of the freakiest monsters of all time.
Yeah, definitely up there.
But why do you say the CGI hasn't aged well?
It's it's clear like this isn't a high like Pan's Labyrinth. It's not a very high budget movie, but I find the rendering on the CGI to be not super. The CGI just doesn't feel super well incredibly implemented. Like most of it has physicality, especially with the stick insect. So there is, and it is well animated, and thankfully for a lot of it, it is in environments where it works very well, such as the fairies, who are mostly shot at night. But it just feels yeah, but it is but it just doesn't feel as like it feels dated, which honestly I would probably not be pointing out if the rest of the effects looked this good, especially the gore effects. There was just a lot of gore in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you said you saw this in your 10th grade class. How young were you then?
16.
Yeah, and and did anything interesting pop out to you, like in this most recent viewing?
The Pale Man did.
Yeah, And how so? Did you find him creepier? Did you find more appreciation for him?
Well, I find him creepy. I find him to be monstrous,
Yeah,
and a little creeped out by the fact that he's a cannibal.
yeah, yeah, he is. Yeah, it's such a yeah. There's such like that's the thing I love about it. There's just such a creativity and passion throughout this film, which just gives it so much life and atmosphere, and just and so you go.
I remember when the girl eats a couple of grapes and the fairies try to tell her to eat them. I was like,
Yeah,
please don't eat them, don't eat them.
yeah. It is very yeah. It's such a yeah. There's such a good sense of tension in this. It's very this film feels this. I love. There's just such and also just it's I think I've just went on for a few seconds just making noises, but I really yeah. But there is just such a lovely atmosphere, not only in the fantasy sequences, which are well done, like the Pale Man. I love the setting and the giant fire which is a mouth, and the meal which is very similar to the meal that we see earlier in the film where everyone is eating where everyone all the leaders of this I believe this fascist regime are eating.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of symbolism there. And also there's also a pile of shoes again reflective of fascism. And it and also it just feels very well done. Same thing for the Labyrinth and how the faun fits in there. But it's not just there; it's also just throughout the film. Like it does feel like it is very like the setting of the mill. I love how there's all these weird all the like there's just such an attention to detail, and like a highlight for me is how Vidal's room is shaped like a clock, which is a prop that is very entangled with him.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of gears and such.
But why does he start his clock? Like, what's so important
Because
about it?
I, from what I can like his clock. Well, for one, he's worried that he'll die, and I believe and that's the clock that his father owned, and which it is said that he broke to show what time that he died to Vidal. It's also Vidal. Might be saying that name right. So that's why he's so to him, like the clock is just sort of this pressure to get a legacy and to be this man and to be this manly man, which causes him to do horrible things.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also like the relationship between Ophelia and like the sort of
Mercedes.
the relationship between Ophelia and Mercedes and her mother Cardamon, and it's like it just feels very genuine and very and well thought out, especially like I remember in I like how the mother I like how Mercedes is sort of this older version of Ophelia, and how they share that sort of connection of being sort of rebels in their own way. And I also love how her mother is sort of just beaten down by life and just yeah, and although she is rude to Ophelia, she does still love her.
Well, she's only rude because she's worried about her husband.
Yeah, but also yeah, but she also has this
Like, you can
sort
see
of
she's under a lot of stress because of him.
yeah, and also having this pregnancy which is not going very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also so if I, yeah, so that's
Like, I found it quite dramatic that they make the mom die from giving birth.
yeah,
Like, it adds a little more dramatic effect to the movie.
yeah. I mean, there's a yeah, it does yeah. I mean, it is very brutal and very shock and just sort of and just horrifying, which is in line with the rest of the film, which shows Ophelia's, which just shows all this violence and implied monstrous nature of this government. It
Yeah.
was just, yeah, and it is, and it just, and it is, and also it is reflected with fairy tales, a motif throughout the film, and I, and it is very tragic. What else do you want to talk about this film?
Hmm.
Like what else?
Um. Do you want to talk about any flaws?
Hmm.
Do you have any flaws with the movie?
Like I mean, not. I mean, not. I mean, not really. Like I mentioned the CGI, which didn't really, which which I would find, which didn't really bother me. That's more from a weirdly objective standpoint, and so I think the drama is well thought out and well paced. Like the film itself is well paced. The actors are well done. The cinematography feels extremely planned out, although elaborate, doesn't feel show offy. It is a little weird. I'm assuming this film was shot on digital, so it does feel a little weird to look at it. Like at times, like those bright light, like the bright reflections and such. But again, same as the CGI, doesn't really bother me. I don't really have I don't really have that many flaws. It just and what flaws are there are just they just kind of make it give the film a charm, like it's made by and make it feel human.
I have a couple flaws.
Go ahead.
So we see a fair amount of scenes where Captain Vidal stares intently at this tube of antibiotics,
Hmm.
but we don't really get the story behind it. Like it doesn't lead up to anything important at all.
That's how Vidal learns that the doctor's working with the rebels. He finds the tube. He finds the tube in the doctor's case, and then he connects the dots.
I know, but even after he finds out, he still like stares intently at it.
No, he
Like
doesn't.
we see it all
That's
throughout the
not.
film.
Second,
We see it all throughout the film.
like not after Vidal finds out the doctor's there. Only stares at it a few times.
I mean,
Are you
even
talking about the sleeping medicine?
even if it no, like the like the medicine, the tube, the small tube,
And this is the sleeping medicine or the antibiotics for Vidal?
antibiotics.
Like that does have a like that doesn't sh- like he isn't staring at it throughout the film, and it does have a payoff to it.
I mean,
So I don't.
even if it does tell us that the doctor is working for the rebels, it doesn't do a good job at explaining it clearly.
I think that didn't really bother me. I think that's well implemented. What else?
So my second flaw is that we don't know why the giant toe turns inside out after throwing up the key.
Magic.
It's weird.
It's just because he's what?
It's just weird. Do they intend it to be like a random thing?
I'm not. I mean, honest, weird. Like he eats the stone, so that's why he does explode in the first place. But I don't.
What
But for the
stone?
visual, what?
What stone?
Like the faun gives Ophelia free stones and tells her to feed the toad them, and then she tricks them into eating them. Remember?
Oh, three stones.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
the first-
yeah.
So that's why the toad turns inside out. And also, apparently there's also supposed to be large this action scene with Ophelia where Ophelia tried to get the stones and toad and all that. But the apparently the animatronic frog was just too heavy and it just didn't work out. That's that's a weird bit of production. What else?
Do you think the characters are well written?
Yeah. I mean, although I can't speak on their dialogue, I don't speak Spanish, not fluently. But I found, yeah, but I found them to be, I found them to be very well written. Yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I think Captain Vidal does great in like being a fascist ruler, and Ophelia does great in being a rebellious young girl and disobeying the captain's rules.
Yeah.
So next question. Do you like how the labyrinth is designed?
I really like the design of the labyrinth. I like old I like ancient ruins like that. I think there is just sort of this sort of a mysterious air to such structures, which is really well captured in this.
Cool. Yeah. I like the leaves scattered around the maze. Like and I just find it cool when the wall of the maze opens up for Ophelia and gives her a shortcut.
Yeah.
I like seeing the inside of the maze.
Yeah, especially like you mean the faun's route?
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that. Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Anything else?
I have something to say about Guillermo del Toro.
Oh.
I've seen a few of his movies, and I think they're quite great. The ones I've seen are The Shape of Water, Hellboy, and Hellboy 2.
Yeah.
He uses he uses some great digital effects, and he finds a way to make the characters sound funny and cool at the same time.
All right. So do you have any other experience with Guillermo del Toro, or is that your main one?
Those three are my main experiences.
Yeah. Have you watched Pacific Rim?
No.
He also man. Anyways, I really like Guillermo del Toro. Personally his works did do a lot to get me into cinema and just the way of working, and the way it works and the way it's thought out. Even especially Pan's Labyrinth, which is one of the films that did show me how much thought goes into into movies, and especially of this nature, this fantasy nature.
So would you recommend the movie?
I'd really recommend it. It can be I think it is very fantastical. It's imaginative. It's really well made, and I just think it is a fantastic film, which still manages to be quite accessible for a lot of people. So I think it's a great film. I'd give it 10 out of 10, and I'd say check it out if you can. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I would recommend it too. Like, if you want to learn about World War II, where you just like seeing movies that center around war, I would recommend you to watch it. And I'd probably give the movie somewhere between an 8 and a 9.
All right. So what do you want to do next week, Luca?
I think I'm gonna go with a comedy movie.
Which one?
I want to review Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
All right then. All right, thanks for your time, Luca. Anything else?
Nope.
All right then. Thanks for your time, and I'm signing off.
Thank you for joining me, TJ.